I'm one of probably less than a half a dozen that were here when we voted to buy this building. So I've been a member for 52 years. My first year as a Kiwanian, we had an annual sale at the Armory. And it was then during the following year that some of our senior members had decided to get together and come up with another place. And one of the charter members of our club owned this building, and they worked out an arrangement and we bought the building. And so I watched it grow from once a year sale and over the years, and finally someone said, well, the community needs more money, so we should be open every Saturday. So we started having sale every Saturday, and that's continued, and we have special sales during the year, Christmas and fall and summer and that sort of thing.
Well, the one thing I remember is at this doorway down here, Ernie Letts used to stand there with an umbrella, and that was really interesting. He was kind of the greeter. But most of the guys that, like myself, that worked during the day, we'd come work mostly at night to restock or fix the TV. And I'd come down with my younger kids, the older of the younger that were interested in working around TVs and stuff. They'd come down and just watch me, but that was half the stuff I was doing in the early days.
One lady returned home and couldn't wait to call her neighbor, please come over and see the dishes I bought at the Kiwanis sale. Well, her neighbor came over and she said to her, oh, those are the dishes I donated yesterday. So the neighbor had bought her neighbor's dishes. The other thing is we used to sell a lot of bowling balls. Who would buy a fair number of bowling balls? Those farmers that had pigs. They threw the balls out into the pen, and the pigs just loved to take their snout and push those bowling balls all over the pig pen. Who would have ever thought?
It's wonderful to see people pick up a book. I remember this from my childhood. Oh, this is one that my dad loved. This is one I want to get for my grandchild. It's such a wonderful book of, oh, this is a new author. I've never tried it. Have you tried it? Is this one any good? So whether it's old memories or whether it's seeing people becoming interested in something new because the books are cheap enough that you can buy a couple and try some new authors and make new friends in books. Now they told me I wasn't allowed to sing the fight song here on your camera, but they said I could sing anything else. Oh, come, let's sing Ohio's praise and songs for alma mater raise.
Coming into this building as a new member, before we had weekly sales, we only had a sale for 2 or 3 days in February at that point, and seeing this room filled to the ceiling with plastic bags full of winter clothing. And I thought to myself, we need to get this winter clothing on the backs of other people. So I was very pleased when we used the asset of this building to increase our number of sales and get that wonderful merchandise back in the hands of people who needed it much sooner. Over the years, we've raised in sale revenue more than $8 million, but we've given more than $6 million of that back to the community. A wonderful ratio of giving to income.
And one year, during the winter, when we were getting ready for our winter sale, we had a snowstorm, and the roof above the kitchen upstairs actually caved in, and we thought we were going to have to cancel the sale, but no, we had a couple of members that came and jacked it up and passed the city inspection, so we had our sale anyway. That was great. And what we do for all of the community is really wonderful, and I enjoy delivering motor meals, one of the best things I do.
I learned of Kiwanis from my brother-in-law, who owned several apartments here in town, and he would buy the furniture for his apartments here, and he said, "You mean you've never been there?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." So I came with him one Saturday and I met Addie. So I continued to come, and Addie kept saying, "You're here so much and love it so much, why don't you volunteer?" And Addie was a big part in my life when I first started. And she suggested that I start in the linen department, and Thelma thought that was a good idea, and that's where I've been. And the people have been what's kept me here.
I was organizing them, making sure that I'd seen this pile and hadn't seen this pile. And one of the volunteers came up to me and said, I think you need to volunteer here because we need someone who organizes. And that's when I started volunteering. The best part about coming here is meeting and talking one-on-one with people from all walks of life. It was fascinating. Watching the children play in the toys area and seeing their parents interact with them, such loving ways, fun ways. This is a wonderful place.
As far as antiques, it was a lot of fun. And the reason it's fun is because it is not a planned purchase there. You know, people just will come and say, oh, I saw something just like that my mother had. I want that. You know, it's a spontaneous, and somebody comes in for a shirt, they find a shirt, they go home. They come into antiques, they look around and they get very nostalgic. And they have all kinds of interesting things. And we would tell people, if they didn't know what it was, they could name it, and then we'd sell it to them.
We have a young woman who's maybe 11 or 12 now. Her mother is not into jewelry at all, and she is. So she comes every week, looks through our fabulous things. She bought a Chanel keychain to go with her Coach bag. She's just a little fashionista, and she cracks me up. She'll be bringing her children to Kiwanis 20 years from now.
Well, what I remember most is once in a while I would find a very old book or publication in very good shape. And that would include a couple of books over 100 years old. Some look just like new. And there was a full newspaper on the Pearl Harbor attack the next day. Perfect condition.
One of the volunteers found some rings, I believe 12 diamond and gold rings in a sock that was donated in the pant pocket of some men's pants. And so that was discovered. And my coworker, Veronica Richard, has established a relationship with a jewelry store in town, and she's gotten appraisals. And so she had these, 9 of the rings were worth appraising, and they were pretty valuable. And so that was kind of an interesting, event that happened.
Well, I've worked in a variety of departments, mostly in the what was called originally shoes and sporting goods. And we were upstairs on the 2nd floor off the electronics area, and we had a huge area there at one time before we remodeled the building and enclosed an area up there that had just kind of been a storage area, and took that over, put a false floor in there, took that over. And we had a great department. We had a number of people who rotated to work together.
I just love working at the Kiwanis Sale facility every Friday and Saturday. Also working at the volunteer program on Thursdays. It's, to me, the rewards are something that it's hard to express, but I do feel deeply that I'm able to give back like I've done for so many years.
Back when we only had a sale once a year, I was sale chairman. And one of the responsibilities of the sales chairman was that during the sale to go out to Sam's and get all the food for the lunch for that day. So I went out early and I got it, and I drove my car into the dock area and unloaded everything into a cart and took it upstairs, and it took about a half hour to put everything away and the like. Well, I came down, and Will Fry, God rest his soul, he was our chief procurement officer, and there he was with his elbow on the roof of the car talking to somebody and wanting to sell my Lexus. And that obviously wasn't the case, but I thought it was a funny experience.
His CPA was a fellow named Johnson, who was still an active member of the club. And he's the one that suggested to Swisher that, well, you haven't been able to sell that business, maybe you could contribute it. And how about contribute it to Kiwanis? And he said, well, yeah, I've always wanted to do something for Kiwanis since he was a charter member. So he made an arrangement, and after some deliberation, I think he sold it to us for 1/2 of its assessed value, which really was 1/4 of its market value. So we've done well with that investment.